I was just one class away from my criminal justice degree when I made a decision that everyone in my life thought that I was absolutely insane. So I walked away from 4 years of work, over $100,000 in student loan debt, and what everyone told me was my ticket to a stable future. And you know what? 7 years later, I could tell you with absolute certainty that quitting college one course before graduation was the best, worst decision that I ever made. Because that moment of walking away from what I was supposed to do led me to build a six-figure land flipping business that actually gives me the freedom that a degree never could have. But before I get into my story, let's talk about what's really happening out there right now. We're living in a time where student loan debt is over $1.7 trillion. The average graduate is walking away with $37,000 in debt, hoping to land a job that's going to pay them $40,000 starting off if they're lucky. And here's the kicker, those jobs that they're training for, half of them most likely are not going to exist within 5 to 10 years because of AI and automation. And look, I know that this sounds doom and gloom, but stick with me here because there's a light at the end of the tunnel, I promise. See, when I was sitting in those criminal justice classes back in 2016, I started noticing something that really made my stomach churn. I wasn't learning about how to serve and protect my community. I was just learning how to be a cog in a machine that I fundamentally did not believe in. Now look, do not get me wrong. I have nothing but absolute respect for law enforcement and first responders. They have the hardest, most dangerous, and stressful jobs that the paid absolutely do not justify the work that they do. But every class that I was taking was about following procedures and never questioning why things were the way that they were. And the more that I learned about the system I was about to enter, the more that I realized I was studying to become trapped in a career that would own me for nights, weekends, and holidays, all for maybe $45,000 a year starting salary, and then working crazy overtime to increase my pay. And I'll never forget sitting in my criminal procedure final just looking around at my classmates, people furiously scribbling notes about probable cause, search warrants, and this voice just got louder and louder in my head. It's like, Anthony, what the hell are you doing, man? What are you doing here? And it wasn't that I had bad grades, like I actually had decent grades. It was just that I was succeeding at something that was slowly killing my soul. And when you're in $100,000 worth of debt, that's a really expensive way to die inside. The math was so simple, but it was absolutely brutal. Criminal justice degree normally equals what, $35,000 to $45,000 starting salary, and student loan payments would be around what, around $1,100 a month, and then they would increase since I had variable interest rates, so they adjusted with the market, which is absolutely terrible. Then we have to take into rent, food, gas, and basic living expenses. And if I wanted to have a family, I would just be absolutely broke, a lot more broke with the degree than without it. I could be honest about being lost instead of pretending a piece of paper made me found. Now, when I told my family I wasn't going back for the last class, you would have thought I'd committed a crime myself. Like, Anthony, you're so damn close, man. What the hell? Just finish. Like, don't throw away 4 years. This is so important. But here's what I understand that they didn't. Those 4 years were already gone, whether I finished or not. And that money was spent whether I graduated or not. Now, the only question that mattered is that, do I double down on a bad bet or do I fold and find a new game? So I folded, and what followed was exactly as hard as everyone warned me that it would be. From 2016 to 2018, I worked every soul-crushing job you can imagine. From front desk at a gym for $12 an hour, folding clothes at North Face, cold calling as a technical recruiter, and each job was a daily reminder of what I'd thrown away. The stress was absolutely unbearable. I started smoking 5 blunts a day just to cope with the reality of my situation. I was taking out payday loans so they could become my grocery money. I was dodging calls from Sallie Mae like they were collection agents for the mob, which honestly, they kind of are if you've experienced that before. And you want to know what rock bottom really looks like? It's not dramatic, it's mundane. It's between choosing gas to get your minimum wage job or eating lunch that day. It's your car declining for a $5 coffee while everyone around you pretends not to notice. And it's watching people your age post about their new homes on Instagram while you're stealing toilet paper from your workplace because you can't afford to buy it. But here's the crazy part that nobody talks about. I was still better off than most of my friends who actually graduated. They had the same dead-end jobs, the same money problems, and the same sense of hopelessness. The only difference is that they had fancier job titles and bigger monthly loan payments. And that's when I realized the degree wasn't the problem or the solution. The whole system is absolutely broken. I will say this though, desperation is a hell of a motivator though when you're at rock bottom because you will try almost anything to climb out. And boy, I tried almost everything. So first came the dropshipping phase, and yes, I actually tried dropshipping sex toys. And look, I'm not proud of it, but when you're desperate, shame becomes a luxury you just cannot afford. I even started a podcast about it thinking that I'd document my journey to e-commerce riches. 3 months later, I sold maybe $200 worth of products and spent over $2,000 on ads. So next came Amazon FBA, and I bought $2,000 worth of phone cases from Alibaba, convinced that I found the golden ticket. And those boxes are still sitting in my garage as a monument to my impatience. Then cryptocurrency caught my attention. I took my last $3,000 and tried it in day trading on the DeFi market. And I lost it all in one weekend when I got rug pulled. And each failure taught me the same lesson from a different angle. I wasn't looking for a business. I was looking for a lottery ticket, a quick hit, a quick win. I was still thinking like an employee, hoping someone else's system would save me. Now, by 2022, I'd somewhat gotten my act together and I was working as a loan officer wearing a suit pretending I'd made it. But I was just as miserable as ever, just with a higher paycheck and a tie around my neck. That's when my dad called me over for what I thought would be another lecture about going back to finish my degree. Instead, he showed me something that changed my perspective entirely. He's like, Anthony, look at all these migration patterns since COVID. Look at the remote work statistics. Look at what's happening to housing prices. It was pretty crazy. He was playing up chart after chart showing how people were fleeing cities in record numbers seeking space, privacy, and freedom. Everyone's fighting over houses, he explained, but land, nobody's paying attention to land, and that's where the real opportunity is. And he was showing me how regular people were making serious money flipping vacant land to folks who wanted to build their dreams away from the chaos of city life. Look, I was skeptical to say the least, but I was practically out of options at this point. So I dove right in. Then 4 months of learning, researching, making calls, and getting rejected, learning some more, and then it happened. Our first deal closed and we had $50,000 of profit. No employees needed, no inventory sitting in my garage, and there is no degree required. Just research, problem solving, and connected sellers who needed to sell with buyers who wanted to build. But here's what really blew my mind about land flipping. It wasn't just about the money. Every piece of land represented transformation. That vacant lot in Alabama became someone's future homestead. That acreage in Florida turned into an RV park where families could vacation. That hillside from Tennessee became a family's escape from the rat race that I had been trapped in myself. And that's when it hit me, because we weren't just flipping dirt. We were facilitating dreams, helping people escape the same system that had almost destroyed me, and getting paid well to do it. Just look at what's happening in America right now. Houses are unaffordable for most people. Rent is eating up 50% or more of people's income. Cities are overcrowded and overpriced, and people are desperate for alternatives for a way out of the system that is broken. And land is that alternative. Everything changed after COVID. Remote work proved that you don't need to live in an expensive city to make a living, and people remembered what space and privacy felt like during lockdowns. Just look at RV living. That has exploded by 30% since 2020, and tiny homes went from weird to mainstream. Off-grid living isn't for conspiracy theorists anymore. It's for smart people who see where things are heading. Every trend, every statistic, every migration pattern points in the same direction. People want out of the traditional system. They want freedom, space, and control over their own lives. And land is their exit strategy. The same system that told me that I needed a criminal justice degree, that promised me stability and success if I just followed the rules, that system is crumbling. And land flipping isn't just a business model. It's betting against that broken system and betting on human freedom instead. After 7 years of this journey, here's what I know for sure. That degree that I didn't finish, not one single person has ever asked me about it other than my family. And that stability that everyone promised me if I just stuck it out, it was a cage with a fancier name. The real risk isn't in dropping out. It was staying in a system that was designed to keep me small, broke, and obedient. Because here's the truth about where we are in 2025. Your degree won't save you from automation, and your job won't protect you from the next economic downturn. The traditional path won't lead you to freedom anymore, if it ever did. The only person who could save you is you. And that salvation starts with one decision. The decision to stop following someone else's blueprint for your life. Look, I'm not here to tell you to quit school tomorrow, and I'm not saying that land flipping is the answer to all your problems. What I am saying is that you need to stop waiting for permission to build the life that you actually want. Stop letting other people's definition of success determine your choices. And if you're curious about how land flipping actually works, I built a free community where over 200 people are sharing real deals, real numbers, and real strategies. There's no fluff, no theory, just practical knowledge from people actually doing this. The link's in the description below. But even if you never flip one single piece of land, just remember this. You're one decision away from a completely different life. The question isn't whether you can do it. The question is whether you're brave enough to try something. Your future self is waiting on the other side of that decision, and what are you going to do about it?